ไทม์ไลน์สุทธิชัยอยู่ณทิศนี้ออกนอกสถานที่ครับและมาสัมภาษณ์พิเศษจริงๆครับ CEO ผู้ก่อตั้ง Air Asia สายการบินประหยัดที่ดังที่สุดของเอเชียโทนี่เฟอร์นันเดสซึ่งมีประวัติการก่อตั้งสายการบินประหยัดที่ฮือฮาเกลียวกราวเป็นอย่างยิ่งครับเพราะว่าเขาไม่เคยมีประสบการณ์ด้านการบินมาก่อนเลยแต่พอตั้ง Air Asia ซึ่งใช้เงินไม่กี่สิบบาทซื้อสายการบิน Air Asia ที่เจ๊งมาสร้างขึ้นมาแต่รับหนี้มโหฬารภายในปีแรกจ่ายหนี้ได้ครบมาวันนี้สามารถที่จะให้คนที่ไม่เคยบินในชีวิตเลยสามารถมีประสบการณ์ในการบินได้ที่เป็นคำขวัญของ Air Asia Everyone can fly ชีวิตของโทนี่เฟอร์นันเดสนี่มีความคึกคักมีความน่าตื่นตาตื่นใจมากมายหลายด้านเป็นทั้งเจ้าของทีมฟุตบอลในอังกฤษเคยซื้อฟอร์มูล่าวันแล้วก็ขายทิ้งไปขณะนี้กำลังบอกว่าควรจะต้องมีสายการบินอาเซียนในลักษณะที่สามารถทำให้คนอาเซียนส่วนใหญ่มีประสบการณ์การบินได้ผมถามทุกคำถามครับเขามีความเห็นอย่างไรกับสายการบินไทยอนาคตประเทศไทยในฐานะเป็นศูนย์กลางการบินพาณิชย์นั้นเป็นไปได้มากน้อยแค่ไหนอย่างไรวันนี้พิเศษจริงๆครับกับโทนี่เฟอร์นันเดสครับ
โทนี่เฟอร์นันเดสคือผู้ที่ทำให้แอร์เอเชียกลายเป็นสายการบินโลว์คอสใหญ่ที่สุดในเอเชียหลังจากสยายปีกทั่วอาเซียนมาก่อนปัจจุบันนอกจากจะเป็นเจ้าของสายการบินแล้วยังมีโรงแรมโลว์คอสเป็นเจ้าของทีมแข่งรถในฟอร์มูล่าวันสโมสรฟุตบอลในลีกของอังกฤษ
So Tony, what is your next big thing?
Well, you know, we continue this drive to make AirAsia the ASEAN connector to really make ASEAN a smaller place. So we continue to add destinations and hubs and connectivity. Really, you know, everyone thinks about when they think about Asia in Europe and America, they think about China and India. Over my last 10 years, I've been promoting ASEAN, 700 million market, stable economy, great commercial market, and we continue that drive.
But you don't have an ASEAN open sky policy yet.
Yeah.
You have tried hard, I know, but you have not managed to get an ASEAN open sky thing.
I think from where I started to where we are now, it's moved dramatically.
Yeah.
AEC is becoming a word that people talk about more and more. At Davos, I've been able to get many ministers together to push the ASEAN agenda. And, you know, ASEAN is virtually open skies now. I can fly to any point in Thailand as many times as I want, vice versa, Singapore. Some countries in ASEAN are still not there yet. But
Why
they
not?
I think the local incumbents fear openness.
Of course.
Right?
They need to protect their territory.
Correct.
Right.
My argument, and I think we won over many recently, where I said you can be a piece of a much larger pie than just in one pie. And competition will make you better anyway. So it's inevitable. And I think you must congratulate the heads of state because ASEAN was really a political organization to enable peace, which it still is. But I think it has moved much more to a commercial organization. But it's companies that has to drive it. You know, you can't expect the bureaucrats and the politicians to drive an economic agenda. Companies such as ours and other San Miguel's
so
of the
private
world,
sector, you think?
I think the private sector has to drive ASEAN openness. And I think ASEAN has to be relevant to the people. You know, what does ASEAN mean to the common man in Bangkok? Probably very little, if anything. Has it changed his life? Has it put more baht in his pocket? And I think that is the role of the ASEAN Secretariat to make that more relevant. But I think it's moving in the right direction. I really do.
You think it's about 40-50% of the whole project?
It depends where you see the project ending.
Yeah.
Right? I
Well,
mean,
the project ending with all the 10 countries
Yeah.
having one common open sky
Market.
policy.
Open sky, I think we're more than 50%
Okay.
on the way. My vision for aviation would be freedom of labor as well. So I believe that a Thai pilot should be able to fly anywhere in ASEAN, an Indonesian pilot, etc. I believe open skies also means one aviation traffic control system. It would be much more efficient than we have now. One engineering system. And I think a big part of ASEAN is also to have a standards. You know, an ASEAN chop. So you know that you have a certain standard you have reached. So I think we're more than 50% there. And I think the appetite for change is there. I sense it in the bureaucrats, I sense it in the ministers, that people want this. More people want this than less.
What are some of the main obstacles?
Obstacles is protectionism, bureaucracy, fear of the unknown. And I think the major thing is there are many different sizes in ASEAN.
Yeah.
There's Indonesia, which is huge. There's Brunei, which has a much smaller population. We have different GDPs from Singapore to Laos. So of course there's a fear of, am I going to be taken over?
Yes.
Or the fear of, why should I be part of ASEAN because I'm already so big anyway, right? There's all those kind of lobbies, but history has shown, whether it's NAFTA, whether it's the European community has been good for Europe.
Yeah.
Maybe the European currency, there's difference, but the European community, the market has been good. And even the fiercest opposition, maybe in the right wing of the UK, would still have to concede that Europe has been good for the British economy. So I think that argument is there, but hey, from where we moved, I think we made tremendous progress, and I'm optimistic.
But you're facing more competition also from budget airlines. When you started, you were almost one of the few, but now everyone is talking about budget airlines. Even the main airlines are now spreading out with.
I think that's great. I know that might sound
You're
weird.
not afraid of competition?
No, I mean, I think I always said you have to compete. Competition makes you better, right? Otherwise, you become a little bit like my body.
Yeah.
You get a little bit fat, you get a little bit lazy. But competition keeps you on your toes. And the consumer must have choice. The consumer must have choice. So I don't fear competition, provided it's fair competition.
Right.
Right? If a government is giving billions of dollars to an airline to compete, that's not fair. But if a private entrepreneur wants to start an airline and wants to compete, that's fair game. And I have no problem. There is no exclusivity to say AirAsia was the creator of budget airlines in Asia. We're not. We took the idea from Southwest Airlines and Ryanair in Europe. So it's no problem. I'm sure many people, though I'm dressed up today for you, out of tremendous respect for what you've done. Generally, I'm in jeans and T-shirt. I was given specific instructions to look smart. But I think people who would have seen me before in a jeans and T-shirt and a cap and think, wow, if that guy can start an airline from the music business selling Carabao records,
Anyone else can?
I can as well. It's not so easy.
That, of course, is not true, right?
Yeah, it's not so easy. Many have come, many have gone.
Yes.
You see recently the massive, Singapore economy, Mandala, which is owned by Tiger Air, closed down in Indonesia. So it's not so easy. But I'm a free marketeer. I believe in choice. I believe in people having the freedom to choose what they want to do. And so I must encourage others. And to be honest, if there are more budget airlines, there are more people fighting our message.
Sure.
Fighting to reopen Don Muang, fighting for lower airport charges, fighting for the common man to be able to fly. My message has been very clear. Flying should not just be for the elite.
Everyone can fly.
Everyone can fly. I thought about it in the shower, right?
Right.
What am I all about? I'm about everyone able to fly. And the greatest thrill for me, even after 12 years in this business, is going to KLI2, is going to Don Muang. And someone coming up to me and saying, thank you so much, I never thought I could fly. Thank you, I could return back to China to see my family, or etc. That is the biggest thrill.
How many people have benefited from AirAsia by flying for the first time, you think? In the past, how many years now?
13 years, yeah. Well, we've carried 200 million people.
200. Yes.
Now, of course, many of those are repeat flyers as well. But I dare say of our unique flyers, more than 50% would never have been on a plane before. I'll tell you a funny story. When we first started, many people were missing their flights.
Yeah.
We were wondering, like, why are they missing their flights, right? Because most of them had been on a bus or a train where you don't have to check in.
Yes.
So they were just sitting in the airport lounge. I never worked out whether they thought the plane was just going to drive through
And then they could just walk up there.
pick him up, right? So we actually hired Malaysia's biggest comic, and we drew out about checking in and all that process. And until this day, I still see people who've never flown and going to fly. My own staff, her mother flew for the first time to Hong Kong. So I would say more than 50%. More than 50%. And the great thing about what budget airlines have done and AirAsia have done is open up destinations that weren't open.
Right.
The traditional airlines will go to Hong Kong, will go to Singapore. We have opened up routes and places that just weren't connected before. And I think that also brings a lot of people who never flew the opportunity to fly.
But opening up new destinations is a very risky business because you never know whether people want to fly there. How do you make your judgment on this?
Yeah, I could give you some big PhD. I do enormous mathematical modeling
No, I don't believe that.
to
I don't
create
believe
demand.
you use that.
No, even though I'm wearing a suit today, I don't. I go to a place, I spend a couple of hours there,
Yeah.
and I say, this is a place people want to come to.
So it's gut feeling.
It's 100% gut feeling. There is nothing more. Till this day, last week, you know, we've got bigger, right?
Yeah.
We started this airline with 2 planes and 250 people, and it was 100% gut feel in everything we did.
So you must have failed in a lot of
Oh yeah,
decisions.
we have.
Huh?
The great thing about AirAsia is we have no ego. If we screw up, we say, we screwed up, right? And we pull out. But it's few. To be honest, where there's a population of more than 300,000 people, with our fares, we stimulate the market, right? And if you look at, you know, from Malaysia to Krabi, there was never a route before. From Malaysia to Chiang Mai, there was never a direct route. And so on and so forth. We've just opened up many routes. It's gut feel.
Gut feeling and luck.
Luck plays a big part. You know, luck makes a big part. I do believe you make your own luck,
Okay.
right? I do believe you make your own luck. But anyone who says they aren't lucky if they're successful is talking complete rubbish.
เดิมสายการบินแอร์เอเชียเป็นรัฐวิสาหกิจมาเลเซียตั้งขึ้นในปี 2536 เริ่มบินให้บริการคนมาเลในปี 2539 แต่ขาดทุนหนักจนกระทั่งบริษัทจูนแอร์โดยนายโทนี่เฟอร์นันเดสซื้อสายการบินแอร์เอเชียในราคาเพียง1ริงกิตแต่ต้องรับภาระหนี้ทั้งหมดโดยเข้าบริหารงานตั้งแต่ปลายปี 2544 ใช้กลยุทธ์ขายตั๋วค่าโดยสารในราคาเริ่มต้นแค่1ริงกิตและใช้เวลาเพียงปีเดียวถึงจุดคุ้มทุนเริ่มทำกำไรตั้งแต่ปีที่
But it's still in the end management because low cost mean really controlling the cost.
Correct.
So how do you manage costs?
Well, we manage cost, one, by having this very open, transparent culture. We have a fantastic, really amazing, actually. When you look at some of my senior executives who will stay in a budget hotel, even when I say, no, don't worry, you can stay in another hotel, it's a no, we don't want to do that.
You don't stay in a budget hotel yourself?
I do.
You do?
I do. Not all the time. Not all the time. But I do.
You fly in a private plane or you fly on AirAsia?
90% of the time I fly on AirAsia.
Okay.
To try and accomplish many things, sometimes I will have to fly on a private plane.
Yes.
But 90%, because I love it. I feel going home anyway. And every time I fly on AirAsia, I will go and meet every single passenger.
Oh, great.
And they're our customers, right?
Yeah.
I still carry bags once a month.
You do?
I'm not a cabin crew very often because it causes pandemonium. Because everyone wants to take a picture. I did it once here, boarding passengers, and I delayed the flight 15 minutes because everyone was wanting
And you have not
taking a
learned
picture.
to fly yet.
No, I'm not allowed to.
Not allowed
Our
to.
pilots won't allow me to. So that one I won't do.
But cost and control is, I think, the main.
Yeah, I think I didn't
success
answer you
secret of
properly.
success,
Yeah,
huh?
it is. Firstly is the transparency. It's the culture. You can tell people how to save money. If they don't want to, they won't. A pilot can fly a plane efficiently or inefficiently, depending on how much he believes in the company. So first thing I think we've done very well is transparency. People really know what's going on in the company, and they really understand why cost is key. We've succeeded in that. Two is a meticulous detail to cost, all the way to the top. I know virtually every single cost.
Or because you
in
were
the
an auditor
business.
before.
I was.
And you're
Not
still,
a very good auditor, but
you still keep books and you still read all the details?
I still read all the details.
Do you know every day where your bottom line lies this quarter?
I do.
Every day?
Every day. And
How do you
Ben,
get
somewhere around here, sitting there, will upload the cash flows into the... I believe in cash flow.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, an accountant can make a P&L look however you want to look at
Yes,
it.
that's right.
But the bottom line is how much cash do you have?
That's right.
So I run the business on cash, and I look at the sales every day. Every day, and I'm updated on the financials, etc. It's got to be led from the top. Right? And all of our, whether it's Tasapon, whether it's myself, we're all very financially driven. Now, none of us came from the finance world. I was an auditor for 6 months. We're all musicians. And in the record, correct. So, but business is not difficult. There's a top line and a bottom line.
Your basic quality is in finance.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic degree to have.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong. But numbers are numbers. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to run a business. People say, how did you move from music to the aviation business? I said, well, it's the same, right? You have a top line, which you must maximize. You have a bottom line, which is derived from your cost. So you minimize your cost. And you have a strong balance sheet. Whether you're running an airline, whether you're running a music business, whether you're running a newspaper, it's the same concepts, right? So what I learned from the music business, which I think I have an advantage over every airline man, is marketing.
Okay.
Because marketing Ad Carabao record and marketing Madonna record is tough. It's different and it's tough, right? Because there are thousands of Ad Carabaos, there are thousands of Madonnas, and there are very few TV stations and radio stations. So we got to get our song onto your radio station when you have thousands to choose from. And consumers have thousands of music to choose from. So marketing people in the music business are sharp. And when we get into
they have to keep monitoring the audience, the young people, the old people.
And choice, right? And choice changes very quickly.
And the technology. Were you there when iPod came out?
I was just about. And I left the music business because I said you will fail. I was a big supporter of the internet. There was a product called Napster.
Napster.
And
Napster was a real threat to the traditional music.
And I said it wasn't a threat.
You said
I argued with my bosses at Time Warner and said, you have to embrace Napster. You cannot hold technology back. That's like saying the bicycle industry, oh no, we got to stop cars because that will kill us, right? Which of course it did. But you can't hold technology back. So I said, rather than work against it, work with it. But I had a bunch of older guys who didn't, so I quit. I said, I don't want to be part of this.
And that was your best decision.
My best decision. I looked like a hero at the time.
ในปี 2526 โทนี่ เฟอร์นันเดส ได้ไปเรียนบัญชีที่มหาวิทยาลัยลอนดอน of Economics เรียนจบแล้วทำงานเป็นคนตรวจบัญชีระยะเวลาสั้นๆให้กับบริษัท Virgin Atlantic เป็นสายการบินของท่านเซอร์ริชาร์ด แบรนสันต่อมาในปี 2530 ถึง 2532 เป็นสมุหบัญชีให้กับบริษัท Virgin Record ที่ลอนดอนซึ่งเป็นบริษัทในเครือของนายแบรนสันเช่นกันหลังจากนั้นนาย เฟอร์นันเดส เดินทางกลับมาเลเซียและได้งานเป็นกรรมการผู้จัดการบริษัท Warner Music ของมาเลเซียทั้งที่อายุไม่ถึง 30 ปีกลายเป็น MD บริษัทที่อายุน้อยที่สุดตั้งแต่เคยมีมา
First of all, I just thought I don't want to be part of this.
No.
Then I flew back to London.
Yeah.
I was sitting in a bar, contemplating the rest of my life.
Yeah. And you were 30 something?
35, I think, or something like that. And I saw Stelios of EasyJet on TV in the bar. I won't tell you what drink I was having, but then you'd say this airline was born out of alcohol. And I thought, wow, I've always liked planes.
Yeah.
I always liked planes, probably because of the girls in the plane.
Yeah.
And so I thought, this looks interesting. So I went to Luton Airport, and from a young kid, no one believes the story, but my mother used to sell Tupperware. She was an amazing saleswoman. She could sell ice to an Eskimo. And my father was a very left-wing doctor. So it was a very contrasting lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I used to go to the airport because my mum would be flying all over Malaysia, and me and my dad were plane spotters. We'd always go early to watch planes. And I told my dad when I was about 6 years old or 5 years, I said, one day I'm going to start an airline. And he said, yeah, okay, if you make it past the doorman of the Hilton Hotel, I'd be very pleased. He was one of those fathers that didn't give you much praise. But it was always in my mind. And when I was sent to boarding school in England, I was sent as a 12-year-old. And it was funny, right? I'd never been to England in my life. My father once said, okay, you're going to boarding school. I went, okay. It was all quite cool because half the village came to see me off. And it was those days where you could wave to everyone from the airport, right? I got on the plane, still feeling cool, wearing my unaccompanied miner's badge. The coolness started to wear off as I took off. And by the time I arrived in London, it was really I was terrified. It was Heathrow, even in the 80s, was huge. And everyone was white. So I told my daughter, you have no such problem now, because when you arrive in Heathrow Airport, everyone's Indian. So you feel quite at home.
You feel at home.
And then I remember going to boarding school and thinking, Jesus, what have I done wrong in my life? This looks like a prison camp. And I was calling my mother up with 10 pence coins. And I said, hey, could I come back for half term? And she said, no, it's too expensive. You know, I would love you to come back. We can't afford it. So I said, one day I'll make it cheap to fly. And so it was always in my mind. So I saw Stelios. I went to Luton Airport. And look, there's a very fine line between brilliance and stupidity. It's very narrow, right?
Sometimes you don't know the difference.
And so I called my wife up and I said, I'm going to start an airline. After she stopped laughing, I said, I'm going to do it, and that was it. I said, and for people who are young enough watching this, I said to myself, I'm young enough, if I fail, I fail. I don't want to sit there at 55 and say, I wish I did it. And that's been a principle all my life, because every day is the last day of your life in that period.
That's true. And how much money did you have in your pocket?
I had about $500,000. That was it. And the rest is history. So,
and your wife said, go ahead.
She
if you
was
want to
great.
be stupid,
she said, go ahead. She said, keep a little bit of money for the kids' education, and you go do what you want to do. And we bought AirAsia for 25 cents, 2 planes, 3 days before 9/11. And the rest is history. You know, the Chinese Prime Minister said to me, it's a fairy tale. It really is. It's something.
So a combination of what? Bold decision, timing, luck, hard work.
You can't hard work. You know, everyone says, how do you become a millionaire and all this? There is no secret. Hard work plays a large part of it. You know, timing and luck and all of these definitely play. 9/11 was very lucky for us, actually, because the price of planes came down dramatically. And we were originally going to buy really, really, really old planes. And we could suddenly afford slightly not so old planes.
But you took over debts of what, $11 million?
Correct. And you know, the great thing, we paid everyone off. It was funny, we went to the creditors. There were 3 major creditors. Malaysian Airlines, Petronas, and Malaysian Airports. And we said, look, we're taking over. Can you give us 6 months to pay? If we pay, can you give us this deal? Which is a fantastic deal. I think no one believed we could pay.
So it's a haircut sort of thing?
No, we didn't ask for a haircut. I said, I'll pay you in full.
Full, huh?
So I had the vision that if we were successful, this debt would be very small compared to what we buy. So I said, we pay you in full, and then
6 months was a very short
6 months, and then if we get this, we get this wonderful deal. And no one believed us, I think, so I said, yeah, sure. But, you know, me and Cameron, we were able to pay off everything on time.
In 6 months?
In 6 months, we paid everyone off.
But you couldn't have made that much money in 6 months.
Well, you know, the great thing about the airline business, no bank
Yeah.
would even give us a cup of coffee, right? No. I don't think we could even get in the door of a bank. But airlines actually is a great business if you know how to manage it properly. It's one of the few businesses with no receivable risk. People pay you
in advance.
So we use that. We sold 9 months of our tickets in advance on the principle that we would keep expanding. And so we'd always have a float going, and that's how we funded ourselves.
But in the beginning, it must have been quite tough to convince people to fly AirAsia because it was such a bad name.
Yeah, well, actually, it was no name.
No name.
No one really knew AirAsia. It wasn't that tough because we put the fares low.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of people who thought you might be flying next to a chicken, you know, fall out of the sky, you have to take your own bags to the plane.
It's safe because you're going to hire pilots who are not qualified.
Correct. And then we sponsored Manchester United, and everyone believed that we were good. AirAsia is short-haul airline. AirAsia X is long-haul, separate companies, separately managed, right? If you look at Thai or Malaysian or Garuda, it's very tough. They have economy, business class, first class. They have wide body, narrow body. Some of them have turboprops. Some of them have started a low-cost airline as well. They have engineering services. They have catering services. Some of them own hotels. If you look at Nation, you're focused on media, full stop. All your capital goes into media.
You don't go into property, you don't go to aviation.
Correct. Because you're dispersing your capital across so many businesses. You're dispersing your management talent. My colleague at MAS sits on so many boards of so many different things. I'm just managing AirAsia. Simple. I don't have to worry about all the different aspects. So the difference why we are successful, I firmly believe, is focus. If Thai and Malaysian Airlines focused on their business model, which is premium, and less so on the back end, less so on other businesses, they would return a much better return of capital.
So if you go high end, you go high end. If you go low cost,
correct. You don't get the Oriental Hotel having budget rooms.
No,
you don't.
No.
You don't get a Mercedes-Benz or a Rolls-Royce having. So airlines are an acronym. They have themselves. On one minute, you have a billionaire at the front of the plane, and then you have a guy who's just affording a very low salary. And the wants and needs of the two passengers are very different, and generally, you disappoint both.
Right.
Right. While in AirAsia, expectations are, it's the same class. You know what you get, all first class, and everyone knows what to expect, and the expectations are met generally. Not every time. We screw up sometimes as well.
Right.
So, you know, my advice consistently for 12 years, and I came from the music business, the great thing I think about us is I wasn't an airline man.
No.
I didn't come with preconceptions on how it should be done.
No hang-ups,
I started with a fresh piece of paper
Right.
and said, well, this makes sense. Let's do it this way. Airlines complicate themselves too much, and that's why they've been a poor returner of capital.
But you must have been thinking that one day I must own the big airline.
No.
Right?
No, I didn't.
Your next stop.
I think
No?
it's a fantastic interview, by the way. I'm not trying to suck up to you, but it's a fantastic interview. Because ego is another killer in the airline business.
But if you're so successful, your ego must have.
You manage your ego, of course.
How do you manage your ego? It's
well,
not
I think
easy. It's more difficult than running an airline.
Yeah, you got to ask my staff because people have known me pre-AirAsia to now. I'm the same person.
But people change.
People change, but I think
You feel that, hey, I've done this and I'm so successful. Damn it, next one I'm going to beat the major airlines.
Yeah. But I think we're bigger than the major airlines now anyway.
Well, okay.
So
if that's the way you think.
but I think, no, jokes aside, focus and discipline. Don't believe in the press. The day you start believing that you are more important than you actually are is the end of you. You take a long time to go up. It's a lot quicker to come down, my friend.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So focus. I've never been interested. I mean, the government asked me to look at Malaysian Airlines. We did. From a national service, we did. But at the end of the day, how we wanted to do it.
So you don't rule out the possibility.
I do. I do.
You do?
I do 1,000% on Nation TV with the most powerful media man. I quote, we will never be involved in a full-service airline.
I was going to ask you, Thai International needs help. So are you interested in buying Thai?
No.
Buying, not flying. Buying,
no. I think I go back to that word focus. Again, my attention, the Thai Airways business is very different from the AirAsia business. And if I have to manage two types of businesses, my management time would be split, my capital resources would be split, and we would do a poor job on both sides.
But if you're good enough, you're going to be able to train someone to run AirAsia while you go up one step and run the major airline.
True.
Your ego will tell you that.
True. Yes and no. Because I've grown up on the low-cost business.
Yeah.
I may do things in Thai International which would destroy Thai by running it low-cost way, an efficient way.
Yeah.
In the same way, Thai International and MAS and British Airways and Qantas can never run a low-cost business. It's not in their DNA.
Right. The attitude is different,
yes.
The thinking is different.
Now, I had a very clear example of that when we partnered ANA to do AirAsia Japan.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare.
Wow.
It was terrible because culturally we were so different from the full-service boys and us. In the end, it was a quick divorce. It was a nice divorce. It was a friendly divorce. We left. I'm sure in your time you met a girl. You thought she was the perfect woman. Having spent 3 weeks with her, you thought, oh no. She ain't my type. Let's split up now before we kill each other. So that's the experience. And Thai International is very easy to fix.
Easy to fix?
Easy to fix.
What's
and
advice?
Advice is one, you cannot have a crutch. Now what is a crutch? Anyone who runs Thai International or a government-owned airline believes that the government will never let them fail.
Okay. Yeah.
So
That's a very dangerous attitude. Right?
For me, if we fail, we're history.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure we make money. But in a lot of these government-owned airlines, they feel, well, if we screw up, we'll get a bailout.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the first thing. The safety net must be taken away. And focus must be brought in. What is my model? Am I here? Am I here? Am I long-haul airline, short-haul airline? Am I business airline?
Thai does not have a clear concept of its own positioning.
I don't know, but I think that is what they have to be clear on. And the workforce has to buy into it. You know, our workforce works hard and wants to do things. But there is no division between management and workforce. There is no division. Everyone knows everything. A union is formed and there's a bit of lack of trust sometimes. Yeah. You know? So I don't think, because not everyone wants to fly AirAsia. A lot of people want to have more comfort, more style, flat beds, whatever. Thai has a phenomenal market because the Thai tourism market can be, of course we got up and down, but whatever, people want to come to Thailand. It's the best place in ASEAN. People want to come here for a variety of reasons. So Thai has a natural market, as does AirAsia, etc. It's serving that right market. Who are we serving? So the first principle is AirAsia is very clear. We're serving the low-cost market. So we know who to target, how much to target, what they're willing to pay. And we have the number of planes to target that market. So again, Thai and MAS and all these airlines have to say, what's my market? What do I want to be? You know, and
But they want to be everything to everyone.
I think that's where the problem lies. So in the same way you said, why don't you start a full-service airline? I'm saying, not my business. I wouldn't be good at it, right? And we got millions and millions and millions of people who haven't flown yet. Let's do that market first and focus on that.